Today I'm going to talk about coping versus thriving as you transition into a new life abroad. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you're new here, welcome. I am Patricia Brooks. I moved to France in 2018. And when I did, I wasn't thriving. I was coping. Today, I am thriving, and I help people who are ready to move abroad and thrive there find the wherewithal, the resilience, the confidence so that they can make that happen. And on my channel, I talk about my life here in France, about moving abroad and how to find that confidence and that courage to live the kind of life you know you deserve. And today I'm talking all about transitioning into a new life abroad. The role of coping, the role of thriving, are they different? Are they similar? And I'm going to share some experiences I have done to cope and how they have helped me to thrive. So when I first moved here back in January of 2018, I was happy for the first 2 weeks. I was on cloud nine. I could not believe I had done this thing that I didn't believe was possible for me. I was happy until week 3 came, and I wasn't working because I'd taken a sabbatical. So I had all the time in the world to just think about what I had done in quitting my job, in moving to a country where I knew nobody, in moving to a country that speaks French and where my French was really pretty basic back then. And it caused me to feel stressed. It caused me to doubt myself and my decision. And it even caused me to feel a little bit guilty because I could hear my mom saying, "A bird in the hand's worth two in the bush. You don't quit a job unless you have one at the ready." That was my programming. And that's exactly what I'd done. I'd quit my job without having another one. And I thought, oh, my mom might not be so pleased with me right now. And so that there was a little bit of guilt too. So I was not thriving by any stretch of the imagination. But what I did was I decided that I was going to get up every day, get dressed, have my morning cup of tea, and get out early to explore my new city, because I knew that I did not want to feel those feelings of guilt. I did not want to have those thoughts of self-doubt. And so I explored. I got up, went out early, and I explored until early evening. And that helped me to not have so much time on my hands to think. Now, I did have time to think. I did have time to feel the emotions that I didn't necessarily want to feel, but I think was good to feel because it allowed me to move through them. But that was at nighttime, and it allowed me to actually enjoy my time here in France. So that is how I coped initially. That was one of the ways I coped when I first got here. Another way I coped was I had a couple of friends who I didn't necessarily feel were in alignment with who I was at that point or who I was evolving into at that point. But I did not say, no, I don't think that I want to hang out with you. And I hung out with them. And while at times they weren't the most positive people for me to be around, it was a way for me not to feel so alone. Now, after a year's time, I moved on. I found other people who were more aligned with who I was and who I wanted to be around. But initially, I kind of said, oh no, I think that I'm going to spend time with these people. And so coping, doing things that help me to move past some of the stressful points of my transition here, helped me to get to the place that I am today. Now, it has taken me a while to get to a place of thriving. It's not something that happens overnight with all of the cultural differences and the administrative matters you need to figure out, and just trying to figure out who you are and what's next for you when you do make a move abroad, especially if you haven't moved abroad for a job. So I just want to share that. And I also want to talk about what coping really is. What is it? I've spoken about some of the things I've done so that I could feel better in my transition, but what is it exactly? Well, it's a way to handle stress that we feel when we are in a situation that is new to us. If there's a change in our lives and we are uncomfortable with that change, we can think things, or we can actually behave in a certain way that allows us to manage those feelings that we have, those feelings of stress that we have. And in that way, it helps us to bridge the gap, as the way that the things that I did when I first got here helped me to bridge the gap. And when it's done in that way, when it's done in a more positive way, or in psychological terms, when it's adaptive coping, it's positive. It's something that helps us to move forward. When it starts to become a crutch, or when it starts to be unhealthy or addictive behaviors, then that is what they term maladaptive coping. And that's when it's probably time to consult a licensed professional like a therapist or a counselor. All right. So that's what coping is. And it is not always a negative thing. I think coping can get a bad rap. And when it's used in a more positive, productive way, where it's bridging a gap and allowing you to get to a place where you are feeling more comfortable in your new situation, where even perhaps you're thriving, then it's something that can be quite helpful. Now, the reason I decided I was going to talk about this in the first place was one of the members of my program posted in our private circle group that she wasn't sure if she was coping or if she was thriving. And she wrote that post in relation to something that she had done that made her feel really good. And that was to visit a chain store that is an American chain store that has a branch outside of Paris. And she went and she thoroughly enjoyed the experience of being at a store that felt uniquely American while she was here in France. And she wrote something that really stood out to me. She wrote, "I'm not sure if this is coping or thriving. And I don't even know if differentiating that actually even matters." And that made me stop and think, oh yeah, she's transitioning into her new life in France, and she's doing something that is comforting, that is helping her to bridge the gap. And I think that is exactly what I'm talking about when I'm talking about the adaptive version of coping. Her comment, her post was something that I haven't spoken about enough on this channel, and I wanted to delve into. Now, as I said, if you're coping in a way that is unhealthy, where you feel like you have some addictive behaviors around that, where your mental health is really being compromised, then by all means consult a licensed therapist or counselor. Now, if you are coping in a way that feels more positive, and yet you still want to make progress more quickly, then working with somebody like me, a life coach, can help you go from functioning and doing things that will allow you to be functional, but get to that place of thriving more quickly and with more ease. And that's what I help people do when they are thinking about making a move abroad, but feel stuck in terms of moving forward, because maybe they doubt it's possible for them. Maybe they just don't have the confidence. Maybe they need some accountability in taking the steps so that they can then make their move abroad. I also help people who have actually made the move abroad and find themselves in a state of coping and not actually living the life they had envisioned for themselves. Maybe not even being clear on what that life was. I help them to brainstorm what they want to experience. I help them to create a plan and execute on that plan so that they can step into that life and thrive living abroad. So if you would like help in moving forward, making progress in your move abroad, or in transitioning into your new life in your new country, then I'd love to have a conversation. You can click the link in the description, or you can go to thecouragecatalyst.com and schedule your call there. Now, I hope this video has been helpful. informative, insightful. If it has, be sure to give this video a thumbs up. If you have already subscribed, I want to thank you. If you have not yet subscribed, consider subscribing. And I will see you again next time. Bye for now.